Hello. I work with kids. I'm a teacher, and I'm very lucky that I have my own classroom and I get to have fun with the kids. And I've been doing this for decades. It's called the Projects Lab. The kids get to build things while they're in school, and they love it. And little girls get to build Beanie Baby bunk beds, and bigger kids build skateboard ramps, and we have a good time, and all day long. And I used to be, this thing works so well. You refer to the Sudbury School, it's kind of based on that concept. And it works so well, I used to think, oh, this is going to spread. If you let kids do things they really like, it's just going to grow and it's going to be a movement.
It would if they were in charge of their lives. Their parents want discipline.
Well, my question...
Not all of them, but most parents. As Jerry and Esther talk around about the Sudbury School, at a family gathering or where there were parents and children, and as they would depict this wonderful environment where there is no curriculum, where it is the desire of the child or the student that drives the curriculum, and everything is just comes forth in support of what they want to do, the children's eyes light up and they salivate and they say, take me there now. And the parents sort of go off into the corner and think, oh, I was so hoping that the school would wrestle my child to the ground so I didn't have to. Parents almost always rebuff the idea as if you need discipline and hard work in order to get to where you need to be. You need to be prepared for the very dangerous and cruel world that is out there. And feathering their nest at an early age cannot be a good thing, is what most parents think, but they are wrong.
When you let the kids have fun with their passions, they end up learning all the academics.
And why is that? In light of the conversation that we just had, why do you think that is? Because in the absence of all of that bogus discipline and all of that, looking at the potential wrongdoing that they either are doing or might do, in the absence of that, guess who came to the party? Their inner being. And when the inner being's there, their creativity is soaring, so is their joy, so is their worthiness. That's how you all want it to be for all of you all of the time. Yes.
And they learn
all of these people would like to enroll in your class.
And they learn to read and write and do math sort of automatically while they're playing.
Of course they do. Of course they do.
The thing that everybody's worried about, oh, are they going to read? They're only 5. They aren't reading quite yet. Well, I used to talk like what you just said and be very activist and making movies and writing things and going to meetings and trying to change the system to recognize that the children are very powerful beings and that they can learn much better and more happily when they're allowed to be free. They won't just... And
with all the evidence, when you look at the people who have made the most difference in your world, can you think of a stronger contributor to what's going on today than Bill Gates? And as you read his history, you'd realize how resistant to school he was and how free he really was. In other words, why they don't look to the most profound evidence and feel a resonance with it is really an interesting thing, isn't it?
Albert Einstein hated school and hardly ever went.
Well, school is for unlearning.
Well, I used to be an activist around the principles you're speaking now, and I kind of dropped back because I was real urgent about it and writing and making movies.
Outside the vortex, pushing against and getting nowhere, yes. Now you're in the vortex, getting everywhere.
Well, I dropped it, and now I just enjoy my classroom, have a good time with the kids, and I'm learning to do that more and more and tune into them as powerful beings and take my cues from them. But you keep mentioning every now and then the parents and the teachers and these little barbs. That's about the only one you ever do. You say, forget television, forget politics, but you keep saying, but then the parents tell the kids and the teachers are, you're jerking
well,
the kids.
Well, part of the reason that we do that, and we would, it would be something for all of us to not focus upon. But often as we are involved in an environment like this, where the consciousness that is focused with us is so ready to come to where we are, and what's holding them back from coming are the things they've learned along their physical trail. It's sort of like the judgments and thoughts that they keep thinking, which we call beliefs. It's the principles that they've learned along the way. And in that seemingly negative conversation that we have, what we're really wanting to do is free you from the bondage of that learning that is holding you back. For example, so let's take this particular topic and let's move it from specifically negative. So specifically speaking, in opposition to what we want, the majority of people in the educational system do not understand at all. They are really barking up the wrong tree, and they are getting better and better and better at barking up the wrong tree, because the more they aren't getting the results that they want, the more they're digging in and trying to figure out what's wrong. And so they are putting more tests in place. They're putting more pressure on teachers and students. It's just getting worse and worse and worse, to the point that no one is having a good time at school. And when I was a boy and I was going to school, it wasn't that way. We had plenty that we needed to learn, but we had some sense of freedom too. And it seems like as we're moving through time and we look back in history, that it was better before than it is now, which is sort of the opposite of what I'm wanting to believe, or opposite of what Abraham is teaching, especially in regards to this educational quagmire that is going on. And I just really don't like how it's going. I think now we're getting overly dramatic in the specifics, but I really think that somebody needs to tell somebody, but nobody's listening. And the people that are making the decisions aren't actually in the classroom. They don't really know what's going on. So there's this bureaucratic mess that's going on, and plus it's steeped with all kinds of politics, and there's all kinds of money in it. And while there might be some well-meaning stuff, now we're really getting carried away, but doesn't that feel specifically accurate?
Yeah. And
specifically negative? And when you think about it, doesn't just suck the life right out of you. We're glad we could help. So let's hold some meetings about all of this. Let's be an activist about what's wrong. Let's push against, and let's point out the biggest culprits, and let's show them what, and of course, that's not going to get any of us anywhere, but it's sort of the easiest thing to do. And when you feel that way, then every evidence that supports that makes its way into your experience. So you're seeing failures in school, you're seeing unhappy people, you're seeing teachers leaving the system. Really, the best teachers aren't hanging in there because they're not getting to do what they were born to do. And the worst teachers are there because they get the summers off and they don't really give a rip anyway, and they'll just go through the motions. And so specifically negative really feels awful. So now let's get generally negative. Because it'll feel better. Just because it'll feel better. And because when we're really caught up in the specific negative, we can't do anything better than get generally negative. It's just the best that we can do. So generally speaking, the system is a mess. And generally speaking, it isn't working very well at all. And generally speaking, somebody should do something about it. And generally speaking, nobody's trying very hard. And generally speaking, it's all sort of misguided. And generally speaking, it just wears me out to think about it. And generally speaking, I can't single-handedly fix it. And generally speaking, I'm actually tired of trying. And generally speaking, I don't really think it's my work to wrestle all of that to the ground. And generally speaking, we are where we are. Now, are you feeling any relief in that? So now it begins to morph into generally positive. I believe that things do get better. And I can kind of feel a movement afoot. And it feels like the kids that are being born are less willing to be pounded square pegs into round holes. And that's the reason that the system is in sort of upheaval, is because they're not going along with it like they once did. It's like they're born with a different resolve. And so it's like they're born with a greater determination to feel good. And it's funny to me that so many people say, well, these kids today are just uncontrollable. And when I hear that, we're speaking from you. When I hear that, I think good. Right. I think good, because things just are getting better. Things are getting better, and they're coming with stronger resolve, and everything is shifting, and old rules are sort of dissipating with old people who are croaking and taking their old standards with them, and the balance of the whole thing is becoming freer and happier, and the kids that I'm interacting with don't feel bogged down in this. I honestly think I'm much more bogged down in it than they are. If given just the slightest chance, they soar. They don't seem to need excuses to feel better. They're looking for reasons to feel good, and so they have very little to overcome in order to feel good. And so I take my lead from them, you said. I take my cues from them, you said. I take my lead from them because they're in this pure place. After all, they're more recently arrived from source energy. And while they're exploring contrast, they're not steeped in habits of resistance. And so it's just getting better and better. And I can feel that it's moving to places that are more satisfying, but I don't have to figure out how it's going to happen and when it's going to happen. I don't have to lead some movement. My role is just to get in sync with who I am, and to allow my inner being come to the party, and then to play with these kids whose inner beings have also come to the party. And I believe that as I play with them, one by one or collectively, on a day-to-day basis, that we are together establishing new vibrational paradigms, new vibrational habits, and I don't think they will ever forget how free and happy they felt in this environment. I think these kids are getting it, and it doesn't take very many who feel like that. Kids are out there talking to each other. It doesn't take very many who feel like this. I know that this is the path of least resistance, and I know the path of least resistance is the path to alignment, and I know the path to alignment is the path to fully allowing the integration of who I am. And look at what's going on. Look at what's going on musically. Look at what's going on. Look at the musical movement that is taking place with so many talented people coming out and embracing the fullness of who they are. Look at all of the evolution in joyous creation that is happening. There are more opportunities for more kids today to excel and explore the fantastic opportunities than we ever even imagined. It feels to me like the leading edge is there, and that we are keeping up with it much better than maybe I have been allowing myself to believe. And I'm so honored. I'm so satisfied. I'm so happy that I get to be right in on the nitty-gritty of it. Because after all, teaching is an individual thing. We can't teach through our words. We only teach through our joyful example. And here I am, right here in this leading edge environment, where I'm taking my joyful cues from the kids and I'm reflecting their joy back to them. And I'm not doing anything that will hinder the joy that is them. I think I finally figured out that that's the key to true mentoring or true friendship or true loving or true teaching. That the key is just not to get in the way. Not to get in the way of the natural expansion of joy. Doesn't that feel pretty good?
Yeah.